Okay, number 2 is curiosity. This is Curious George, one of my favorite books when I was a little kid. Anybody remember Curious George?
They have a cartoon now.
They do, yes. They had a movie too. Jack Johnson wrote a song. Anyway, so it says, "Show me the monkey." And the reason why I like this quote is like, it's like from Jerry Maguire, the movie, "Show me the money."
Yeah.
But I think that curiosity, again, is that, so the first was hunger, right? Curiosity is that characteristic that really makes us all tick, doesn't it? Whether you're a copywriter, an entrepreneur, it's just never enough, never enough to not know more. And if you don't have that hunger with the curiosity, you're going to be less than what you can be. And everybody I know who's a great entrepreneur or a great copywriter possesses amazing curiosity. The funny thing is, the reason why I use Curious George, Gene Schwartz in Breakthrough Advertising talks about the chimpanzee brain, which is the part of the brain that is much more reactive, and you have to understand this stuff. Breakthrough Advertising, I said in the forward and the afterward, it's not a book just about copy and creative. It's a book about human behavior. And to understand human behavior, you have to be a student of it, and you got to be curious. There's a company that I work with as a consultant, one of the best newsletter companies in the world, and when they hire copywriters internally, their copywriters spend, I think, 2 years just doing research, being curious, before they'll even let them write a package. And these are some people with some experience. But after 2 years, you can imagine they're basically developing a stable of copywriters that are going to be world class, and they pay them so much money that they don't even want to leave. That's a whole new concept in copywriting today, which I'm not going to talk about today. It's a whole nother topic, which is writing for one client actually can be way more lucrative than being a hired gun writing for many. So you as entrepreneurs thinking about bringing some of that copy technique in-house and overpaying, in a good way, this talent could be a game changer for your business. Different topic for a different day. I blogged about it a lot, so you can get a lot from my blog page.
Life?
Say that again?
Was that all your personal life?
Yeah.
Writing Tinder updates?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but I can imagine that would be very, yes.
No, because I was studying Gary Halbert's when he was looking for a date, and I thought I'd twist it around for a male.
I bet it worked, yes. I bet it go to all the stuff that Eben Pagan did as David D'Angelo. Go look up all that stuff. I mean, that is like world-class copy, world-class marketing. Whether you consider it being good, whether it's for good or evil, is a matter of perspective. But yeah, getting a date and getting a customer, yeah, I think there's a lot of analogies there.
That's another world-class seminar, is Altitude.
The original Altitude. Is that available on video?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eben Pagan was a genius. Eben Pagan, had the David D'Angelo dating stuff. That's how he started in the business. So curiosity. Gene Schwartz said the creativity is in your market and in your product, and all you're doing is joining the two together. Makes it sound so easy, doesn't it? But it's basically the list and the offer and how you join them. The other thing about Gene is that, and I'll go back to this when I talk about him and how he looked at lists and markets, he was a voracious reader. I mean, I don't know anybody in my world ever that read more than Gene Schwartz. He read everything. And he read everything from, fiction to nonfiction. I mean, I don't read a lot of fiction. I figure, I got to read business books. I got to read copywriting books. I got to read marketing books. And Gene he was incredible. He would read anything. And to top it all off, and I put this is in my afterword to Breakthrough Advertising, his favorite publication was the National Enquirer. Because that gave him a sense of what was happening in the world. Because if he didn't have a sense of what was happening in the world, he couldn't be the best copywriter he could be. So this is a long quote, but I just want to give you the sense. This is from Claude Hopkins. I owe much to my childhood poverty. It took me among the common people of whom God made so many. I came to know them, their wants and impulses, their struggles and economics, their simplicities. Those common people who I know so well became my future customers. Talk about knowing your avatar, right? When I talk to them in print or in person, they recognize me as one of their kind. He lived it, and then he said, he happened to say, that's the audience I'm going to go after. I mean, I'm sure AJ, having been a fat guy and now being, ripped beyond belief, and by the way, he will kick your ass if you don't do the challenge. But now, he knows exactly. I mean, talk about working in your passion and like where you were and how you can teach that. That's where most of us as entrepreneurs need to be, don't we? Why sell something that you aren't passionate? I assume you're really passionate about. It was real estate?
Insurance.
Insurance, sorry. But you got some passion for that. You know it. I mean, I hope you love it too. I mean, it's hard to, some people say it'd be hard to love insurance. But you know what? You can. Because you're so freaking good at it. And people want to hear from you on it. And, this quote is just so powerful. And the other things I'll say to you, I mentioned before about surveying your audience, asking a lot of questions, being like so freaking curious about what your audience wants and needs. Never stop talking to them. Encourage them to talk to you. Get into dialogues with them. I recommend to everybody, anybody here ever hop on customer service calls in your business? You know how...
Not in my business, but when I was in corporate.
It is the most, so I told the story in one of my blogs how I used to stay at work very late at boardroom. And this is in the days before automated attendance, and the phone actually rang, and if someone didn't pick it up, it would keep ringing. We're talking about like the Paleozoic era, right? So I would stay at the office really late. So I would be the only one in the office. It's an office of 100 employees. Boardroom was a pretty big company. And I'd be the only one in the office at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and the phone would ring. And I would pick it up. And I know it was always going to be a customer who was complaining about something. Like, why would somebody calling 8 o'clock at night on a general line at a $100 million company, right? So, and my goal on that call was and I also listened in on customer service calls regularly because I wanted to see like what did they hate about my product? What did they like about it? And my goal on those calls was funny. My goal was always like how they're starting angry, right? My book didn't get delivered, the thing you promised and the promotion wasn't in the book on page 67 like you said it would be, blah, 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 blah. And my goal was like, what can I do to make sure that I can satisfy this customer and it's crazy when you think about it because we're talking about a $39 book, right? But my goal was to get these people like so turned around so that at the end of the call, they were renewing their subscription. I sent them 4 more free. We lost a lot of money on this customer, obviously. But the idea was, what was it going to take? Because that would be the human behavior piece. What was it going to take a really angry person who originally liked us to like us again? And if you can do that, now you can start looking at the back end of your business in a whole other way. You can come up with copy platforms, right, to sell the back end based on those calls. I wasn't transcribing the ones at 8 o'clock at night by myself, but I was transcribing the customer service calls. And those you absolutely should and read them if you're not going to go on them. And I think when I tell the copywriters are perfectly suited to do this. Like they're the ones that could be on those calls in addition to the CEO. It sounds kind of, like, oh, I'm a CEO. What am I going to listen in on customer service calls? Man, I can't think of something. I always say customer service and fulfillment of whatever you're doing, those are marketing functions. Those are marketing functions. They're not just like, the back end. And anybody who doesn't believe that, I'm telling you, it might be the most important thing.
You're absolutely right. When I was in corporate, I was in marketing, and we had to actually listen to those calls so that we could use that in our marketing. Like, what were the customers saying?
How do they feel? Yeah, I told this story. I'll tell it quickly. Dean Graziosi, anybody know who he is? Yeah. Real estate millionaire, amazing online marketer. And he did something in his business. His business was like a $250 million business. He had seminars all over the country teaching real estate. And he was wondering, like, this business is getting big. Where are the gaps? Like, where are we losing customers? Where are the holes in the bucket, as it were, right? Where am I losing? Even though it was $250 million and very profitable. So what he did was he hired a guy. You ever hear the term secret shopper?
Yes.
Yeah, so he hired what we call a secret shopper, which is basically you hire somebody to be a customer of everything you do and also be like a total pain in the ass. Like basically cancel this product, call up and complain about this, order this and then order 6 more, do everything, both positive and negative, right? That's what a real good secret, and he hired somebody who knew direct response marketing to do it, which was really genius, right? No one knew this guy was doing it. And he went through and said, and Dean gave him one piece of thing. He had to keep a journal, but it was basically at every step of the way, whether he was trying to break the system or be the best customer of all time, at every step of the way as he's dealing with people, it was like, how did that make me feel? Was the question he always had to ask as a customer. How did that make me feel? Sounds so simple. How many people really do that in their business? And the stuff that he got, he found out that at one of the seminars, they were selling a $15,000 real estate, how to flip a house seminar on a Friday seminar, right? 15,000 bucks. And he got all these people raising their hands, they bought it, and of course, a lot of them were men, some women, but mostly men. And when they went home, their wife said, "What the fuck did you do?"
Buyer's remorse.
Oh, big time, $15,000. Here's what he found out. His company wasn't making contact with that person who bought on Friday until the following Wednesday. That person should be getting an email, a voice recording, something on Saturday, telling them how great it is that you just you want to.
No, we were just literally talking about this at dinner.
I mean, this is like
Touch points.
Yeah, touch points. But you got someone who just bought $15,000 product who's going to have buyer's remorse with a wife that's going to kill him. I would suggest that you might want to contact that person right away. Whatever. Okay. David Ogilvy said, the more prospects you talk to, the more sales you expose yourself to, the more orders you will get. It's not just your prospects, but it's your buyers. And this is why I was a slave to what I call concept testing throughout my whole career. Like that was when I said surveying, I mean, I wouldn't launch a product until I did what we call a full-blown concept test, which was making sure that everybody was on board in my core universe about the next product they want to buy. I was very interested in having 20 books, not one. Product is not a business. And I wanted to know which ones I was going to invest in promotion. A promotion is not a business. And I was going to invest, what was I going to invest in? Gene Schwartz, you cannot lose touch with the people of this country, no matter how successful or potent you are. If you don't spend at least 2 hours a week finding out where your market is today, you're finished. That's about, how do I interpret that? Read the National Enquirer. That was one thing he did, but he read everything. And this is similar, this is like taking what Hopkins said about, being from poor and knowing that market to trying to understand like what's happening in the world. I mean, Gene gave me a different appreciation for really understanding what's going on in the world so that you could be the best communicator. Forget just copywriting, the best communicator of your product that you can be. I'll be able to give you these slides if you want them, guys.
Please.
Yeah. I took a lot of shit in my mastermind group because I did this presentation. And they were like giving me crap the whole week, the whole event after I did it about, Brian, you have any more quotes? Gene Schwartz said, how did he define breakthrough advertising? Is not about building better mousetraps. It is, however, about building larger mice and then building a terrifying fear of them in your customers. Paranoia is not a psychosis, it's survival in direct response marketing. That doesn't mean that you're deceptive. It doesn't mean that you do stuff that's bad or wrong. But paranoia and curiosity are very, very close. Very, very close. And so I always say marketing is not evil. You can use this for evil. You can use this for evil. Everybody here is only going to use it for good. But this is what you need to do. In fact, my blog post about when I sent my list, I sent the draft of my afterword to Breakthrough Advertising. And I think my subject line was something like building larger mice or something like that. Or building terrifying mice. I think it was called terrifying mice or something. This is a great quote, isn't it? Advertising people who ignore research are as dangerous as generals who ignore decodes of enemy signals. I've been beaten the point about research, but I will tell you that the best copywriters, like people like Arthur Johnson, who was a speaker at Titans, and Paris Lampropoulos, they can't get enough research from me when they were writing packages for us. It's the power of specialization. It's the power of immersion in your product. That's what curiosity is about. And this is the only way to do product development.